Let's make some easy DIY faux leather keychains. Hi, and welcome to my craft room. My name is Kelsey. I also call myself Dinosaur Mama, and today we are making faux leather keychains. If you are new to my craft room, you can find all the links that you need down below in the description, including a link to my blog where I have over 800 free SVG files. Today I used a Creative Fabrica SVG, and I will have that linked as well, along with a free trial for 10 downloads that you can download anything instantly. I love Creative Fabrica. This is not sponsored. I just love using their website because they have so many fonts and options to use. This is a pretty quick tutorial, pretty easy to set up, and you can do this with any of your Cricut machines. So all you need is a fine point blade. Let's get started in Design Space. So I have these two Daisy SVGs. You can use this again with any SVG that you want, but I wanted to do a Daisy keychain for spring. So I am going to grab these and I am going to line them up, and I'm going to do 5 of them. So I'm just going to duplicate them, and then I'm just going to duplicate this one more. And I will have a link to the SVG. I did not make these. These are actually from Creative Fabrica. So I have these all stacked up, and I am just going to grab everything and I'm going to align horizontally. And you can also, if you want, you can distribute vertically. I do want the overlap, so that is intentional. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to ungroup everything. You're going to need everything ungrouped because we're going to weld the back. So I have everything ungrouped. I'm going to grab all of the white pieces, and now I am going to weld these. So now they're one piece. I'm going to go ahead and send this to the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a slight offset. So I'm going to do like a very tiny offset. So just about this. And if you need to, you can always contour if there's any holes inside. Now the reason I'm not doing the keychain out of these daisies is because there's a lot of holes, and when you're cutting leather, there's a chance of mishap. So I'm just going to do the daisies in heat transfer vinyl as well as the centers. They're going to be in heat transfer vinyl. And then I'm going to do the backing, the black offset. That's going to be my actual leather part of my keychain. Now the last thing I need to do is I need a shape. I need a square, and this is going to be what attaches into my keychain ring. And mine are 1 by 0.45 inches high. They're pretty small. So I'm going to drag this down. And so this is really big. I'm going to grab everything and I'm just going to resize it down. And I'm going to drag it back down, see how it looks. And that is good to me. So just about 6 inches. And I am going to again align horizontally. I'm going to grab the rectangle and the backing, the offset, and I'm going to weld. Now this is my keychain. The last thing I want to do is I am going to duplicate, and I am going to flip it so that it lines up. Well, now if you have long enough leather, mine is super small, you can rotate this 180 degrees, okay? And you can stack them this way, like this. And then you can align them again. And you'd actually take this one and this one, and you would weld those as well. And then here you'd also want to contour that hole out. So I would just go hide all contours. Okay, and now you would fold this in half. Mine is not big enough, so I'm just gonna do mine back to back just so it's a little bit thicker. So we can go ahead and start cutting this. You can cut out your HTV. You don't really have to mirror because we already did mirror, but that'll depend on your SVG file as well. So you have that, and then this is going to be your faux leather. I'm going to use the faux leather setting. And actually I do think I have yeah, I do. I need to contour this, and I need to contour this. It must be so small. It's at the bottom here. Okay, and I'm gonna hit make. And this I'm gonna cut out with the faux leather thin option. I'm actually gonna move it in a little bit so I can tape it down really well to my mat. And it uses the fine point blade, so doesn't use anything fancy. And then I'm going to cut this out with HTV as well. All right, let's get started. So as I mentioned, I am going to move my faux leather in. I'm just lining it up right at that 1 inch and 1 inch mark. So it's a little bit in. And I am going to tape this. You can even see some old painter's tape there. I'm going to tape it really well on all 4 sides. And I do think this helps. You can also use a strong grip mat. I'm using a fabric mat. But you can definitely use a strong grip mat for this, but the tape definitely helps. So I highly suggest taping it on all sides and taping it well, not just like a little strip. Like make sure they overlap and cover all the corners. And this will just help secure it down for a better cut. So starting out, I am just weeding my heat transfer vinyl. Nothing fancy here. I will speed through this and skip over it because I don't think you need to see me weed all of my HTV. But that is going to be your first step, is to weed your HTV. Next, you're going to grab your heat pad and your easy press. I have the small one, but you can really use any of them. I'm going to use it on the lowest setting though for the small easy press. You don't want to do a ton of heat because you are using faux leather and it could melt. So just be aware of that. You don't want any melting on your faux leather. And I did just about 10 seconds. I did double over my Teflon sheet, and now I can just peel off my transfer tape or whatever you want to call it, your backing. And that is perfect. And now I'm going to do the other part of the keychain in the exact same way. Double up my Teflon sheet, low heat, light pressure, and I just kind of move my iron or easy press, whatever you want to call it, back and forth for 10 seconds. So it's not a lot of heat on this. Now, of course, it's going to be different depending on what SVG file you ended up using, but I'm cutting out my centers here so that they're individual, and I'm going to place them onto each daisy. And then again, I'm going to double over my Teflon. That's just a personal preference. You don't really have to do that. And I'm going to iron those on again, light pressure and low heat. So I didn't change anything there. And that's really just the steps for doing your 2 layers. Again, you're just trying your best not to melt your faux vinyl. Also, if you put too much pressure, it's going to leave dents in your HTV from the layering. So things to be aware of and to practice while you're working with HTV on faux leather. So I'm grabbing my Fabri-Tac and I made a nice little line there, and now I'm going to seal these together. So I wasn't able to, again, to make a loop with mine, so I'm just double upping? Yeah, sure. And I'm going to make sure that it's sealed really well. So I glued it in the middle, sealed it, and now I'm going around the edges to seal it again. And now I'm going to grab my little keychain hook, and I'm actually going to put a little bit of hot glue right here in the middle of it. There's not a lot. I'm putting it on the end. That way I can tuck in my keychain that we made, the faux leather, and we made that extra little rectangle, and I'm going to put that into the hot glue just to seal it in there a little bit extra. I think you can skip this step, but I found having it just helped me secure it in, and I didn't have to worry about it flopping out as I hooked it down. And then I just grabbed some pliers. These are small jewelry pliers, but you could definitely use something that's bigger and it'd probably be better, honestly. And I'm clamping these closed, and they have little hooks inside to grab onto the fabric. So just do the best that you can to clamp them as tight as possible, and then you will be all set with your keychain. So you can use your fingers. It does bend, but I have to say these are pretty like sturdy keychain hooks if you get the same ones I have. I wasn't strong enough really to just use my fingers, but that's it. And your keychain is done. So they are super easy to put together, and you can do this with any design that you want. And so I love that. Thank you for joining me today as we made our faux leather keychains. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to give this a thumbs up. It helps me so much. Subscribe to my channel for new crafts every week, and share this with one of your friends who want to make their own keychains as well. I will see you soon in my craft room, and stay crafty.